Next one, and this is one I'm very curious about. It's kind of long-winded here. It's a little bit longer than just a few words. So, are you in or out on if something happens to the RB1 of a team, like an injury or a trade, suspension, whatever, and you immediately go out and add the next running back on the depth chart if he's available on waivers? Are you in or out on that type of strategy during the season?
Okay, I'm out, but I'm only out because of semantics. Okay, and here's why. So you said the next guy up on the depth chart.
Okay.
I don't always follow the depth chart.
Okay.
I use the eye test.
Okay.
All right, so if you said, are you in or out on going out and picking up another player on that team that you think will be the next man up, then I'm in. I know that's semantics, but here's why. There are special talents at the running back position in the NFL. There are special talents. Christian McCaffrey, special talent, right? Adrian Peterson in his day was a special talent. But I'm in.
You're in now.
I'm in. I'm going to say I'm in. But again, it's because I don't necessarily follow the depth charts. So I was one of those people that went out and picked up Deontay Foreman after the Christian McCaffrey trade because I saw what he did last year when Derrick Henry went down for Tennessee. Running backs are a dime a dozen in the NFL. There's a reason that they're not taken in the first round. There's a reason they don't get the huge contracts. There's a reason they don't last very long. There's a reason, Deontay Foreman went for over 100 yards a game last year after Derrick Henry went down. I'm going to say I'm in, again, semantics. I'm not necessarily in on the next man on the depth chart. I'm on the next man up that I think is the next man up. Not what the depth chart says. Okay. So there's been numerous situations, and you already actually proved my point earlier when you talked about Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison is actually the clear-cut next man up there. We've already seen it. Like, we have history to base that off of.
Right.
So next man up, I'm in, just simply because running back seems to be an opportunity-based position in the NFL. David Montgomery goes out, Khalil Herbert comes in, goes for 150 yards, scores 30-plus points. Like I said, there's a reason they're not taken in the early draft very often anymore. So I'm in because I've said numerous times that fantasy football is an opportunity-based sport or an opportunity-based game. But having said that, I did go out and get Deontay Foreman. If you are looking for the next man up on a team that stinks, so if that person that went down was not producing, is there any reason to believe that the next person up? So yes, I'm in, again, based upon semantics, based upon who I think the next person up is. But it also, I'm going to put an asterisk because it depends. If the first person wasn't producing, there's no reason to believe the next person is going to produce. Okay. But I also think you need to be wise and you need to look because I'm going to use the Colts. So the Colts had Jonathan Taylor goes down. Nyheim Hines is what everybody thought was going to be the next man up. But Nyheim Hines is not a 3-down back.
Right.
So you have to be aware of the teams. And let me ask you a question because in one of our previous fireside chats, you talked about Darren Sproles. So if Darren Sproles played on a team in the past and the RB1 goes down, Darren Sproles was always used as a 3rd-down back, a pass-catching back. There's no way that Darren Sproles was going to be able to handle an every down back.
No, true.
So yes and no. Semantics, yes, because opportunity knocks, and we've seen running backs succeed in those situations. But I'm not going to be stupid about it, right? Use your heads. Is this guy a 3rd-down back, or is he a guy that can handle every down? I mean, because don't forget, a few years ago, before Melvin Gordon got traded, Austin Eckler would have been the next man up.
Right.
What's Austin Eckler but the RB1 in fantasy football this year?
Yeah.
So I'm in, asterisk, okay? I'm not just going to blindly grab the next guy. It's going to be the guy that I think is the next man up, and it's going to be a guy that's going to be capable of handling more than just passing down. Because if they're too small, then they can't handle that every down workload in the NFL. Those guys are big, they're fast, they're strong, they're going to crush those guys. They won't hold up. Giovanni Bernard, another great example. So we've seen Joe Mixon go down in the past. And I know he's with Tampa Bay now.
Right, yeah.
But when Mixon has gone down, in the past, Joe Bernard was able to still maintain his specific role And he had a couple good games. He did have a couple good games where he was that real replacement back, but he didn't hold up. It just proved my point, right, with him. So I'm going to say in, but I'm not going to argue if you say out because there's so many exceptions to the rule. Mm-hmm. There is no rule. Right. Golly, man, like how do I answer that? Yes and no. Okay. I'm in if it's the right replacement. Right. I'm out if it's the wrong replacement. How about that? Is that the easiest way to put it?
Yeah, that makes some sense.
I know that's not a very strong answer, but it's the truthful answer.
I'm more out on it than I am in. I'm probably more like 80% out, 20% in. That goes to show that I have done this in the past, and I've even done this a little bit this year, mainly because if on certain teams, if this person's available and I have so many injuries or so many bye weeks and this person's available, I'm going to pick him up if nobody's picked him up. So that way, at least maybe he'll have a good game. Deion Jackson, say for example.
Jamal Williams.
I mean, when Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines are both hurt and I don't want to drop those guys and Deion Jackson's available, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick him up. It was either him or Phillip Lindsay. I need to have somebody to plug in and start. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to just drop everything I'm doing, go pick up my phone, okay, this guy is the guy that I need to pick up. I can't buy into that. But I'm out on this just because I think it serves more of a question mark than it does a certainty. Because I can think in years past where I've had better options on my bench than when I had picking up this prime example. So I did not enter the Deonta Foreman sweepstakes. Literally, people were going out and adding him faster than an opening day at Chick-fil-A.
Well, wait. I did go out and add him right away, but Chick-fil-A is pretty dang good. So
Chick-fil-A is very good. People rush to them, and the Deonta Foreman sweepstakes started right after Christian McCaffrey was traded. I stayed away from that. Could I regret it? Yeah, possibly.
But Adam, that's another one that I'm saying though. Like Christian McCaffrey was good, but that offense is going nowhere.
Exactly, and that's why I stayed away from him, because that offense is garbage. Okay. But there's also other examples too.
Let's hear yours, and then I'm going to counter you.
All right. So another one was, I believe it was 2017 or 2018, the unfortunate, infamous Kareem Hunt video that got released from TMZ. After Kareem Hunt was dismissed from Kansas City, everybody thought Spencer Ware was the next man up. Everybody was like, I've got Spencer Ware. I'm going to start him. He's going to lead me to the promised land. What happened there? Nope, it was actually Damian Williams.
Was it Damian or Charkandrick West?
No. Well, maybe it was Charkandrick.
I think that year was Charkandrick West. Damian Williams was the next year.
No, it was Damian Williams. Damian Williams was the main guy, and I believe Spencer Ware was Kareem Hunt's backup.
Can you believe we just had a Charkandrick West reference on this video?
Yeah, and Damian Williams was the next guy up. I was like, if you have Spencer Ware, more power to you. I'm not going to become a part of that. I'm out on that. Another one, very recent, last year, Derrick Henry goes down. He's out. What does everybody do? If Jeremy McNichols is available, they go out and they add him. Mm-hmm. Not me.
And it was Deonta Foreman.
It was actually Deonta Foreman. Right. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just stand pat with my team right here. If Jeremy McNichols turns into be a PPR monster, which some people drafted him during the 2021 draft because they thought he was going to be the pass-catching running back because Derrick Henry doesn't usually catch a lot of passes. Mm-hmm. I didn't fall for it. I didn't want to. And now, granted, fast forward into this year, yes. Okay, so I did pick up Deion Jackson for Indy. I did pick up Eno Benjamin for Arizona once James Conner was out, mainly because I needed another running back to start. Granted, situations come up, injuries, bye weeks. You need somebody to start in. If this person's available and nobody's picked him up and he's been available, I'm like, okay, I'll pick him up now. But for the most part, I'm out.
Okay, so say exactly what you just said, but use the exact words that I just used. Depends on the situation.
Yeah, right? It does depend on the situation.
So, Eno Benjamin, he scored over 20 points, but that's because James Conner was out and the other backup was out.
But let me ask you this: do you think once James Conner was immediately ruled out, do you think people went out and quickly added Eno Benjamin as quickly as people went out and added Deonta Foreman when Christian McCaffrey was traded?
No, but there's a difference between filling in a 1 or 2 week gap when a guy's out injured versus he's being replaced for the entire rest of the season.
True. Okay. Good point.
But let's go back to, if DeAndre Swift goes down, is Jamal Williams worth starting?
Yes.
If Dalvin Cook goes down, is Alexander Madison worth starting?
Yes. But most likely, though, those players have already been drafted.
Now, hang on, though. If Elijah Mitchell goes down, was Jeff Wilson worth starting? Up until he laid his clunker. He was, because I started him.
Yeah,
He threw double-digit points. But it goes back to exactly what I was saying. Damian Williams goes down. Is Ramondre Stevenson worth starting? Yes.
You mean Damian Harris?
Damian Harris, sorry.
What?
Yep, Damian Harris, you're right. But it goes back to what I was saying, and you actually said the exact same thing. It really depends upon the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, am I in on it? Yeah, I'm in on it, depending upon the situation. How long is the guy going to be out for? Who do I have to give up to get him, and is it the right guy?
Okay.
So those are the 3 questions, and that's a great lesson. So let's break that down. So this is a very important lesson that you and I just shared with the crowd. So who do you have to get up to get that replacement player?
Mm-hmm.
How long is that player going to be out that replacement player is going to be valid? And are you sure you got the right one? So that's a huge lesson. That's vitally important. So I'm in, but only if those 3 criteria are met.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense. The next one that I'm wondering if you're in or out on is always start your studs.
I am out. And I've actually said that on this channel. There is nobody who is unbenchable. And I've heard radio stations, I listen to Sirius XM, same as you, but not just them. I've heard it on ESPN radio. I watch TV shows. There is nobody out there who is unbenchable. Nobody. There was people who would have thought that Najee Harris were unbenchable earlier this year.
He's benchable now.
He's a first-round pick. He's almost droppable at this point. I mean, it's comical. There is nobody out there, nobody who is unbenchable. I don't even care if you have Patrick Mahomes. Let's say you have Patrick Mahomes, and this is an absurd argument, but this is reality based upon the way that people draft. Let's say you have Patrick Mahomes, but you're also one of those people that took 2 quarterbacks early, and you have a very stout RB2, and Patrick Mahomes is going up against a terrific defense.
You mean QB2.
Or QB2, sorry, yeah, QB. Man, I'm messing up a lot. Let's see. Folks, right now it is currently 12:31 a.m., so a little after midnight, and we're still filming. How many hours worth of filming have we done tonight?
A lot.
Oh my goodness, and we did a bunch last night, so I apologize. But yeah, there is nobody out there who is unbenchable. I do look at matchups some, but again, that's based upon who I have on my bench.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that I've got Austin Eckler as my RB1. Who's a good RB2? Just throw one out there. Who would you throw out there as an RB2?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. No?
That's more of an RB3, but okay, we'll go with it.
Okay.
We'll go with it. But let's say that Austin Eckler is going up against Tampa Bay's run defense from last year.
Right, yeah,
Okay. And then you've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's actually trending up going against a Buffalo Bills team that's good against the running back, but it's going to be a shootout. He's going to be used out of the backfield. That's a weak example, but I'm trying to prove a point here that no, there's nobody who's unbenchable. If you guys think back, there used to be something called Revis Island. I know Adam and I are showing our age. There used to be Revis Island.
Oh, yeah.
And there were times that I would literally bench my wide receiver 1 if they were going against the Jets and they had to face Revis Island because he was so good. Quarterbacks wouldn't even throw his weight. I remember there was a Monday night or Sunday night football. It was a primetime game a couple of years ago where I actually benched. I don't know I think it was Doug Baldwin who was wide receiver 1 for Seattle at the time.
Yeah.
But I knew that Richard Sherman was going to be shadowing him all game because they were playing San Fran. So Seattle versus San Fran. I want to say it was a Monday night football game. I had Doug Baldwin as a wide receiver. And I actually used my wide receiver 1 because I got running back and tight end heavy. That was the year that I started off with like 2 or 3 running backs, a quarterback, and a tight end before I drafted my first wide receiver because wide receivers were so deep that year. I actually benched my wide receiver 1 because I knew that Richard Sherman was going to be shadowing him. I have benched my wide receiver 1 if I knew that Terrell Revis was going to be shadowing them. So no, and I think that's really foolish advice and it could be incredibly destructive. There are some matchups that just are not conducive to fantasy output. Another case in point is weather games. So there were people that were like, oh man, you can't bench so-and-so, you can't bench so-and-so, but we've seen some terrible weather games. I pay attention to the weather. I don't care, unless you're Tom Brady, who doesn't, whatever, Tom Brady's special. I hate to say, man, that hurts. Man, that hurts. But it's true. I hate to say it, but it's true. But if you have a quarterback playing in a blizzard, you have a quarterback playing in a monsoon, you have a quarterback playing in in a game where the winds are gusting. There was a game last year where I had a wide receiver playing at Cleveland. I can't remember who it was. But in that game, the winds on Lake Erie were supposed to be blowing out of the north at like 50 miles an hour. I benched my wide receiver 1 last year in that game. He got like 4 points. 4 points, that was it. So, no, I'm going to sell that idea because there are strange situations. Revis Island, weather games. Another example, quarterback gets hurt, you got a stud wide receiver. We used the Antonio Brown example a couple of times. No, that's terrible advice. Everybody's benchable. If the matchup's not right, you have a solid number 2 at that position. So again, I'm going to punt the idea because there is exceptions. I can just off the top of my head say there are exceptions if you are solid at that position. Case in point, my Dynasty League. I've got Jamar Chase, I've got Devontae Adams, I've got A.J. Brown, I've got Tyreek Hill, I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those guys are all studs. I can't start all 5. So in that league, somebody's going to be benched. 2 of them are going to be benched every single week. It's going to happen. I'm going to play the matchups, right? So, yes, I'm going to sell that idea. Complete garbage. Complete garbage. How many times, go down to the comment section, let me know how many times your hearts have been broken because you started a stud even though you knew the matchup was going to be bad and your stud didn't do much. If you played fantasy football for any amount of time, you've had it happen to you. So the fact that it's happened to me numerous times, I can immediately sell that idea. And I hate when the radio station says, you're never going to sit this guy. Bull, because I've lost matchups. In real life, it's actually happened to me where I knew I should have benched a guy. Should have gone with my gut, went with my brain. We've talked about this. The stats don't lie, folks. They don't. I mean, was it last year that you could not run on Pittsburgh? You just couldn't?
I think. I thought it was Tampa.
Tampa. And I hate giving credit, but there are just some teams that are special in certain ways. And you need to be smart about it. You need to use your brain. So you ask me if I'm going to buy or sell that idea? Goodbye. That's garbage. That is hot garbage. There's nobody that you have on your roster who's not benchable if the situation is not correct.
Okay, so
what about you?
I'm out on this as well. However, this is one of those instances, and I'm willing to take any criticism that comes my way. I say I'm out, but I need to learn to do as I say, not as I do. Because sometimes I do fall for the name brand, which in case you should not. If somebody is not performing on your team, there's no reason why you can't bench them. Najee Harris, for example. If I had him on any of my teams right now and I had better options on my bench, I would be starting those other options and benching Najee Harris. But also, here's another example too. Sometimes your head gets in the way of your heart. Prime example, last year, Josh Allen. The very cold game, I think it was in New England, and it was like week 13 or 14. Josh Allen was my only quarterback in that dynasty league. And I started him, and he only got he got like single digit points. He only got like 8 or 9 points. There was other quarterbacks on the waiver that would have done better. But what did I do? I stuck with Josh Allen. I should have gone out and added another running back. I don't know exactly what my bench situation was at the time. I don't know if I really wanted to drop anybody. Maybe that's why I just stayed with him. But am I out on this? Yes, absolutely. But do I still fall for it sometimes? Yes.
Okay, so give me Knuckles because you're a genius. Because you just brought up another point that I want to highlight on game script.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up Najee Harris. They actually played Buffalo this year,
Right.
and if you had any sort of brain, you knew that Buffalo was going to go up big early in that game. They were going to start. Kenny Pickett's first start. I'm not trying to. This is terrible. Mike Tomlin's been very successful. Who am I? But why would you start Kenny Pickett in his first game against Buffalo? But if you were a Najee Harris owner, you had to know, with the way that Pittsburgh defense has been playing, they're banged up. You had to know nobody's stopping Buffalo.
Right.
That was not a good game script for Najee. It really wasn't. So game script is another thing that could affect whether or not the player is startable. And I actually talked about that with Jonathan Taylor in one of my earlier videos. That I just feel like with the Colts defense not performing the way they should be, the game script, even when he was healthy, was really not in his favor.
Right.
So game script is another excellent. You're a genius.
But here's the other thing too. You bring up Jonathan Taylor. Do you sometimes? And I'm sure there's a lot of fantasy football players out there. Even before Jonathan Taylor got hurt, after his Week 1 performance, where he had the touchdown, I think he had over 125 yards rushing, and he had some receiving yards too. When he started to not do very good, in Week 3, because Week 2 he was at Jacksonville and he served a big clunker right then and there.
Right.
You come into Week 3, you're thinking, am I really going to bench my first overall pick? And it's sometimes it's just one of those things like, am I really going to bench this guy? Am I really going to bench my stud running back?
Okay.
And then we end up, that's when we start drinking the Kool-Aid on that.
Okay, but I'm going to say, in your defense, out of everybody I've ever played fantasy football with, who is the only person I've ever played fantasy football with to not drink the Kool-Aid and drop their first and second round
True.
picks.
That's me. That is me.
So right there, folks, answers the question. That right there is the hard sell because Adam was smart enough and wise enough. So hang on. Yeah, I'm going to give you a cheers. Cheers to Adam because he was willing to drop Ray Rice and CJ Spiller when the time came. So that answers your question.
Right.
That's a hard sell. You were absolutely correct. You took so much crap for that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But you were absolutely correct.
And I'll be honest with you. I will be completely honest with you right now. In Dynasty League, New Rensselaer League, Teresa's League, any of the leagues that I would have, if I had drafted Najee Harris, he'd be camping on my bench right now.
What if you're one of those guys that drafted Aaron Rodgers? I mean, at this point, I would actually drop him and see what's available.
I actually have Aaron Rodgers starting in another league right now. It's actually the league that I won the championship in. But in that particular league, though, quarterbacks get more points for their passing yards. They get a point for every 10 yards passing.
Okay.
So
scoring settings matter.
Correct. And my original quarterback in that league was Russell Wilson.
Oh,
so going from Russell Wilson to Aaron Rodgers,
yeah,
tiny bit of an upgrade, but it's a little bit of an upgrade.
A little bit. How many people are in that league?
Only 8. There was 10 last year.
There's nobody better out there. Is this one of those leagues where because they get so many more points, quarterbacks get taken, and a lot of teams are carrying 2 QBs?
Not really. Quarterbacks do get, like I said, a point for every 10 yards passing, and they also do get crazy bonuses too. Like they get 4 points for if they throw a 40-yard completion, 4 points if they have a 40-plus yard touchdown pass or something like that. Some teams are carrying 2 quarterbacks, but I picked up Geno Smith off of waivers.
And Geno's looking pretty good this year.
And I'm debating about starting him this week. I'm probably not going to just because Aaron Rodgers is facing Washington and their defense is horrible.
Yep.
But
yeah,
it's one of those things that the jury's still out on. I did drop Russell Wilson though.
But
I dropped him.
But right there, you just said like you're even looking at benching Aaron Rodgers for Geno Smith. So
right.
Betting so we're both a hard sell on that, folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree on that one. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's one of those where nobody is untouchable as far as starting or benching because you have to be smart. You have to be smart. What else you got?
Last one I have here is the quarterback, wide receiver / tight end connection.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna say about that. Yes. I buy it. And you find a lot of the sharks that play daily fantasy do the same thing. Austin was the first one to do it. John has mastered it in our leagues. And the reason that I buy it, if you have the right combination, I remember, years ago, Tom Brady and Randy Moss were on the same team. That team was untouchable. That team was absolutely untouchable. I buy it. It has to be the right combination.
Correct.
Has to be the right combination. I am absolutely 100% on board. I love doubling up my points. If you have that prolific quarterback with that prolific wide receiver or tight end, I love it. So a couple weeks ago, I started Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Yes. 4 touchdowns, all to Kelce. Double points. Okay, I exaggerate. I had Mahomes in one league, Kelce in the other. If I had them both, wow. So yes, I absolutely buy it. Again, the combination has to be correct. But I buy it because I have already seen numerous occasions where both in regular fantasy football and in daily fantasy football it's paid off. I've seen enough of it that to me, yes, as long as you have the right combination, because a lot of times those really prolific passers have that one guy that they go to. Now, they make other guys relevant too, don't get me wrong. Right. What you don't want is that quarterback that passes the ball and throws the ball out to 3 different
Correct.
But if you get that that magical combination, that can carry a team. Because, we've seen it before where that magical combination, quarterback, wide receiver, has averaged like 50 to 60 points per week and has had weeks. We've seen it because of the bonus structure in our league, the PPR. We've seen it where a quarterback, wide receiver combination put up to 80 points in 1 week. And when teams are averaging 100 to 120 points a week, oh man, I buy it, but it's got to be the right combo.
Correct. I'm in on it too. And I think I've been in on it ever since Austin did it in 2011 when he had Tom Brady and Wes Welker. And then in 2012 with my Cloverfield team, obviously I was a fan of it right then and there because I took Tom Brady and Gronkowski.
And John's done it.
John's done it too. And I can't remember any other combinations that I've had, but I'm sure I've had numerous other ones. And like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, college teammates right then and there, obviously. So yes, I am 100% for it if the combination is right. Like a Patrick Mahomes to Juju Smith-Schuster.
No, that's not the right combo.
No. Or
Matt Stafford to Allen Robinson.
Not
the right combo.
Not the right combination. But Matt Stafford, last year, Matt Stafford to Cooper Kupp.
Yes. Actually, that would have worked.
That would have worked very well. So if it is the right connection, yes. Now,
a couple years ago, Drew Brees to Michael Thomas.
Yes.
This is before Michael Thomas's injury, whatever.
Right, exactly.
Drew Brees' retirement. Yeah, that would have worked.
Yes. So the quarterback wide receiver connection is definitely out there. Now, there's something I also want to add to this. Are you for the quarterback running back connection? Because I have seen some teams where the fantasy player drafts the quarterback and they also draft the running back. And case in point, you draft Joe Burrow, you also draft Joe Mixon. Now, when it comes to that, I would have to say I'm out. Because for the mere fact, there's only one football on the field. And
I'm out.
You can't.
I'm out.
When the quarterbacks don't get points for handing the ball off to the running back. Now, if you by chance happen to get
Herbert to
Eckler, sometimes you'll even get Joe Burrow to Joe Mixon.
Yeah,
every now and then, that's very rare.
It's
very rare. Austin Eckler is probably the one big exception this year. And but I'm more out on that than I am in.
Okay, so there have been running backs like Christian McCaffrey who've gotten 100 catches, but if you had said like Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey, okay, but it's just so rare. You had Joseph Adai that caught a lot of passes from Peyton Manning. You had Marshall Faulk. But even like Matt Forte had Jay Cutler. Not the same. I'm out. Now, are there the rare occasions? Oh, well, they're rare. They're rare because when you look at like even the Peyton Manning offenses, he made Joseph Adai relevant in the passing game. Joseph Adai was relevant in the running game anyway, but he made him relevant in the passing game as well. I'm out.
I'm
There's just so many. I mean, if you said Herbert and Eckler this year, yes. Can you think of another combination? The only other one that maybe might scratch it, and that's only if he starts picking it up, would be Brady to Fournette. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Really can't even think of another one. There's running backs that are going to catch a lot of passes, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend the running back. And vice versa. So like Jared Goff, he's been he was a top 10 quarterback up until the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift, when he's healthy, is there. But do you really expect Jared Goff to continue that? No. DeAndre Swift, yeah.
Now I'm going to
Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers. I haven't seen it this year.
Well, okay, so let me take it even one step further. Are you for drafting the same running back and the same wide receiver that are on the same team? Case in point, would you draft Joe Mixon and Jamar Chase?
Okay.
Or would you draft CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott?
No.
Or would you draft Dalvin Cook? I mean, you probably wouldn't have been able to do this because they were both first-round picks, but would you draft Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson?
I'm going to say I'm out on that because, again, that's another one where there's so very rare few occasions. You have to have an incredibly
There's only one football on the field.
Right. You have to have an incredibly explosive offense where the running back is involved in the passing game. But the more involved the running back is involved in the passing game, the less involved the wide receivers are, unless you hit that one rare spot where there's one good running back and one good wide receiver. So now I'm going to go way back, folks. I'm going to think like Michael Irving and Emmitt Smith. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to name you a couple of...
How about this? Chad Ochocinco and Corey Dillon. Yes. Has it happened? It has. But typically, if a team is really good at running, it's at the expense of the passing game. And if they're really good at passing, it's at the expense of the running game. But there have been some really explosive offenses. There would have been one year where I'd have taken two wide receivers and a running back.
Okay.
I'd have taken Isaac Bruce. Who was the other wide receiver for the Rams? But I'd have taken Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, and Torrey Holt.
Yeah, Torrey Holt.
I would have taken all three of those.
Okay. So I'm gonna.
But how often does that happen?
Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do.
Oh, thought of another one. Going way back. I would have taken Ricky Waters. I'd have taken John Taylor and Jerry Rice.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a couple running back, wide receiver / tight end connections that we have currently right now going on this season.
Okay.
And you tell me if they were available in your draft, if you would take both of them.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Travis Kelce.
Depends on where I can get Edwards-Helaire.
But would you take both of them?
I would if I could get Edwards-Helaire in the 7th round or later.
Okay. Joe Mixon and Jamar Chase.
Yes.
Let's go.
But probably not because they're both first round picks in my book.
Correct.
Maybe I was wrong. He has not performed. If you go back to one of our videos, I've actually got Mixon on my skank squad. But there is something about Cincinnati. I'm not willing to give up on Joe Mixon yet. I think once that offensive line gels. So I'm going to buy that one. I'm going to buy it because I think Joe Burrow is that special.
Okay.
I think Jamar Chase is that special. And if that offensive line goes, there is nothing that should stop Joe Mixon from running the ball. Because when you have the talent of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, not to mention Tyler Boyd and Hayden Hurst, there's no reason that Joe Mixon should ever run into a crowded box.
Okay.
Okay.
Here's another one for you.
Okay.
Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper.
No.
How about Austin Eckler and Mike Williams?
No.
Okay. How about...
Okay, let's go back to that because I'm going to prove my point.
Okay.
I don't have any stock of Nick Chubb, which disappoints me. I'm high on Chubb.
Okay.
He's averaged over 5 yards per carry in his career.
Mm-hmm.
But I said in the preseason I wasn't going to draft Amari Cooper. Now he's done well. He has done well. But that's because of Nick Chubb.
Okay.
Jacoby Brissett's played pretty good ball, but he's come down to earth the last couple of weeks. We both know that out of the three of us, Teresa was the highest on Mike Williams.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. How many shares of Mike Williams do I have? 0. Do I have Austin Eckler? Yeah.
Okay, so here's another one. Now this is drafting him, so we didn't know anything about the injury.
Okay.
Would you take Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman?
No. I have 0 shares of Michael Pittman.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, and that's because, again, going back, it's a Matty Ice issue. I do think that Matty Ice is an upgrade over what they've had at quarterback in the last couple of years.
Okay.
This is no offense to shot putter, Phillip Rivers. But no, I have 0 shares of Michael Pittman. I do have 1 share, one only, of Jonathan Taylor.
All right. How about DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Yes, but that's also a unique situation.
Okay.
And that's because both guys can catch those little short, dinky passes. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a possession receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that he's not explosive. He's talented. It's just the way that offense runs under Mike Campbell's offense with Jared Goff at the helm at quarterback. It's just the way the offense works. And it works quite well.
Okay.
But they're not expecting Amon-Ra St. Brown to be Randy Moss.
Okay.
So, yes, I'll say in that case it works because I actually have shares of both of those guys.
All right. So let's kind of go for a little bit of a downgrade here then. Would you draft both Travis Etienne and Christian Kirk?
So that depends on where I could get them. So I was high on both guys in the preseason,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have unrealistic expectations for either.
Okay.
Okay. So like with Travis Etienne, I wasn't one of those guys that was willing to spend a top 3 or a first, second, or third round pick on him. With Christian Kirk, I wasn't willing to spend a top 7 or a 7 round pick on him.
Okay.
First through 7. Etienne has not produced. He's RB30 this year.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Christian Kirk is in the top 20 as far as wide receivers. I think in order for Etienne to crack into the top, even say 15, I'm not even talking top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying top 15 running backs. He's going to have to be more active in the passing game,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to hurt Christian Kirk. Because so far it's the Christian Kirk and Zay Jones show. But Zay Jones' points have come from a couple big games.
Okay.
So, no.
All right. I've got 2 other ones for you.
Okay.
First one, would you draft Miles Sanders and A.J. Brown?
So that's an interesting one because we know, because we've done this in the picks before, Miles Sanders is RB10,
Mm-hmm.
and A.J. Brown is solidly within the top 10 of wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we both knew that going into this season, the Philadelphia Eagles were going to be good at running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because those quarterback running yards count the same as any.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jalen Hurts can run the ball. But that's a rare situation.
Okay.
But that's a quarterback-based situation.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. I want you to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
If you took a quarterback like Jared Goff,
Mm-hmm.
let me rephrase that. If you took a quarterback like Carson Wentz
Yeah.
and you put them in that offense, would that change the answer? Of course it would.
Yeah.
Of course it would, right? So, again, a very small specific example. I'm high on A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith's played pretty well. We talked about him as top 20 wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
That offense is explosive.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about explosive. I already said I would take Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, and Marshall Faulk from The Greatest Show on Turf.
Right.
But how often do those offenses come along?
Right.
They're pretty rare.
Right. So the other one I have, and I think I would know your answer to this one, but I'm going to say it anyways for the last one. Would you draft both Dameon Pierce and Brandon Cooks?
No way.
Okay.
No way. Because Brandon Cooks, we've seen him take a step back this year.
But you wouldn't have known that going into the draft.
But I would have.
Okay.
I would have. Guess how many shares of Dameon Pierce I have? I actually have Dameon Pierce.
So do I. Yeah.
Guess how many shares of Brandon Cooks I have?
Probably none.
0. Okay. If you paid attention to the preseason, you saw Dameon Pierce come along, and I'm going to give Adam credit for this because Adam and I both saw this coming. Bidding for Dameon Pierce's services was a battle between the two of us in these drafts that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we weren't stupid. We didn't waste a super early round pick.
Right.
But it was almost like once that 7th, 8th round came around, we were kind of looking at each other like, okay, who's going to flinch first?
Mm-hmm.
How many shares of Brandon Cooks do you have?
I have him not in any of the leagues that we're in, but I do have him in the league that I won the championship in.
So one?
Yeah, just one.
So between those two, I would take Damian Pierce. I would probably go ahead and punt on Brandon Cooks.
Okay. All right. Well, that
and
is...
you know what? We'd be right to do so.
Right. I would agree.
Okay.
So that is all I have for in or out.
All right. So folks, go down to the comment section. Post more questions. Adam and I love this kind of stuff. We love talking fantasy football.
Mm-hmm.
Go down to the comment section. Let us know if you have any in or outs. We love Shark Tank. You know, I'm a businessman. We both love it. We've shared videos this weekend together.
Mm-hmm.
Go down to the comment section. Go down there and ask us who we're in and out on, or what kind of concept or theme that we're in or out on. We love that kind of conversation. Go down there and answer these questions too that Adam asked. Are you in or out on these things? Go down and let us know. Every time you post a comment, it actually really helps this channel. Go down, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to this channel so you get more content. Hit the bell icon if you're watching this on YouTube. Hey, until next time. See ya.
See ya.